good in episode 36.
Woo.
Man, I feel like those numbers are going up way quicker. Well, they are.
Hell yeah.
Actually are.
Hell yeah,
but
yeah.
man, I was on my mind. I was like, oh yeah, we're up to episode 33, 34. And even when I've been posting things on the socials, I'm like,
You've been putting them wrong? Or?
well, no, I haven't even been commenting on what episode it is because they're going so thick and fast. I'm like, oh man, I can't even think of which ones they are. So episode 36, it's future impacts of the coronavirus.
Is that what it's called?
Well, that's what I wrote down. What did you write down as it?
Life after coronavirus.
Oh, similar things, right? What's life going to be? What's the future impacts? It'll be cool. We didn't actually discuss too thoroughly how we were going to get this particular topic underway because it was a suggestion from one of our friends, Joey Broadshoulders Gilland.
Episode 5, if you want to check that out.
Yeah. So he suggested 2 items for us to have a bit of chat about. This one was one of them, which we thought, all right, cool. Let's touch base, see what we have,
Yep.
and go from there. But as always, mere mortal moments. Give me first. Hit me up.
So I've negative visualization is useful in putting anger into context. And
Negative visualization.
Yeah. So if you don't know what that is, it's a sort of Stoic tradition, I guess, in which you purposefully put negative thoughts into your mind. So contemplate death, contemplate bad things happening to you or your family, contemplate going blind, contemplate whatever.
Yep.
And you do that. And I guess like the purpose of it is not to wallow in like the
Whatever.
how bad it is, because it will evoke negative emotions while doing that. But to do it and then I guess use that going forward to look at and be more grateful of the things that you do have at the moment.
Yep.
So happened to me just yesterday. I was driving and just, you get those sort of crazy people who drive like maniacs. And this girl was just super accelerated. It was so weird. Like, and you never understand.
I can
what
still
they're
see
doing.
the pain in your eyes.
It's
as
just like,
yeah.
they go fast, so they cut in front of you and then they go slow. And it's just like,
Like, what are you doing?
okay,
Yeah.
So she was weaving all over the place. And yeah, that like the thing with road rage is you're trapped in a little metal box with very dire consequences if someone screws up.
Yep.
So we'll go on 60. So I guess
Not as
probably
dire,
wouldn't have died,
but still,
yeah. Anywho, it just helped me to like that happen, and then I put in. But because that morning I'd put into like already done sort of some stuff like, oh, what if I got into a car accident? What if what if my family died?
Yeah.
And me getting angry at that seemed, pitiful compared to
What just
I
happened.
would be feeling.
Yeah, okay.
Not what just happened, but like what I would be feeling if my family died. So yeah, just a little helpful Stoic tip there.
Well, there was an interesting Gary Vee interviewed Tony Robbins. It was a little while ago, and Tony Robbins has a specific way of morning routine and waking up, and it's all about positive gratitude towards stepping into 3 moments and feeling the gratitude from it and the positivity, and then getting on with your day. And then Gary Vee straight afterwards said, in a similar way, he practices negative visualization, where he was like, he'll wake up every morning and he'll imagine all of his family's dead, and then get on with his day.
Yeah.
So it sounds weird to some people, but it is a thing. It's a different way to sort of pivot the, I guess, good, perspective, because you can go the rest of your day going like, okay, well, I already imagined terrible things and they're not happening, so it's fine.
Yeah, for
It's all
sure.
good. So cool. Well, mine was kind of mine said a smile is all it takes. Was my one. I was saying Thursday was a pretty shitty day. I had all this shit happen.
Yeah.
And it was like tiny things, but in the moment it felt really shit. And I remember thinking to myself, like, just smile, cool. And I had a bit of a check into it, and there's actually the brain's reward mechanism to a smile is even more than what you feel to say like eating a piece of chocolate or some food that you actually enjoy. So just the effect of you smiling triggers those chemical balances in your brain to go, okay, well, you're actually happy. So the more you smile, the more you're happy. The more you're happy, the more you smile.
Yeah. So it's sort of like a way of tricking your brain into releasing good stuff.
But it even is it is in a way tricking your brain into doing it. But it's also forcing yourself to smile even in some terrible situations. You go, again, it gives you a bit of perspective, like, okay, and then you can you move into a happiness or more grateful state. And then you go, okay, well, dang, at least I just lost my headphones. It wasn't like I lost my leg or I fell something else.
Exactly.
So again, positive visualization, I guess, from Harvard. So
Nice.
Good to hear. So how do you want to get this topic underway? Because I've got a couple of thoughts on life after.
Yeah.
Mine was kind of like future impacts in a longer distance frame in some particular areas. So mine was like environmental, Mine was from a business perspective, in a work sense.
Yeah. Just start going.
All right. First one off the rank, but I just listened to this the other day, was digital transformations. So it was a particular Harvard Business Review podcast that were talking about when companies and businesses say, there is digital transformations that are happening. They went through steps. There was the first step where everyone moved into like enterprise level changes, which is like, you have your big back-end changes or digital. You're moving away from paper. That was like that change.
Yeah.
Then you started moving into a digital transformation of products. So that's pretty much this thing, right? You've got a digital watch. You've got really smart phones. So those are digital products that are, you're no longer having to sign on a piece of paper. You can sign with, that, or you can pay with your phone, that sort of stuff. So one of the things I was reading about was the whole digital transformation of how we actually work in a productive way is likely to change. So we can see now, I don't even know how much percentage of the world, probably like 20%, 30% of the world now is working from home or from like remote areas, which means everyone's doing remote working through video cameras or through Microsoft Teams. I think Microsoft Teams gained something on the order of like 15 million users in 1 month. And they had like 30 or 40 million people on it previously. So, they've almost 50% increase on what they existingly have on people using all these sort of digital means to connect. So one of the things I think as a future post-coronavirus, I think everyone's kind of going to wake up and go, well, now we can all kind of, if we want to go back to this usual sense of working at a location or working in our traditional means. But I think there's going to be a lot of productivity gains from being like, okay, well, no, actually now we can transform in the way that if you do want to work from home or you want to keep traveling and be able to work and be productive, well, you can do that because the infrastructure is now in place that allows it. And I reckon there's this whole thing where startups are built. Sounder FM, I was talking to Tim from Sounder FM, and they're a podcast hosting company. And he was saying that he's based in San Francisco. His CEO is based out of Colorado, I think it was. And they've got a lot of their developers through Serbia and a couple of other places. So really, really scattered. And that was what you would imagine the model of startups in a distributed way, because you can be agile and you can move around. I think this is going to be the change where even if you're like a massive bank or Telstra or really big organization, you're going to have start the possibility of the discussions where people are like, oh, well, we can just work from home or work remotely or work in another area. It's not going to be so constrained. And I've broken it up into other areas, but I think just as a big one, I think that digital transformation will now change to be, it's going to move away from products and the actual just core business is just going to be how you work with other individuals will change completely.
Yeah, I think, I totally agree with the working from home part of it. So one of the things I noticed when I used to work was, you'd feel like you would have all these ideas of like, oh, I can change, or like we can change this way of digging, we could do this something different. But after a while, you start to realize like, you're stuck in a system. Like there really isn't that much that you can actually change compared to like with all these big equipment and how way things are done. And it takes like a really big event for you to realize like, oh no, wait, we could actually do it this way. We could actually, like for instance, one of the things we had was draglines. So draglines basically a massive crane with a huge scoop bucket, probably about the size of this room.
Yeah. Okay.
It easily, and it just picks up dirt and then throws it on a hill behind it. And that was the way it was always done, blah, blah, blah. But we were having some problems and people were throwing out crazy solutions that had been done elsewhere, but were like inconceivable where we were, which was to actually like pick it up and put it into a dump truck. So literally load it into a truck and then the truck will take it away. So something like completely out of the ordinary. And I think that has actually been like a good transformation of what we have seen. So what I'm really hoping is what comes from this is people just realize you don't need to travel to work. You don't need to waste that hour. So you read the book Scale by Jeffrey West, and in it he talks about how even though cities are created and you would think that because of this you'd be able to be more compact, be close to work. Not really. Everyone still roughly has an hour worth of transport to get to work, whether they live right in the city because then they're walking or taking the bike, or whether they live, half an hour train ride away. So God knows how many kilometers that is.
Yeah.
Like 50 plus.
50 kilometers.
You still have that same amount of travel. And for me, I feel that is just absolutely wasted time. That was the worst part of work.
Yep.
I hated that. And same with uni as well. I think that was one of the worst parts of uni, actually getting to the uni.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think that, definitely will come from this is that like lack of commute time.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's having beneficial, like positive effects in the world. You know, there's less oil prices go down, there's less smog in the Himalayas and whatnot. It's actually like good for the earth that we're not using all this energy in this way when, you know, we could
be doing it in different ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that was my other one. Like the second one I had actually was the environment, and this stats were, you know, I think they were a couple of weeks old, so these could have even changed more dramatically, right? But it was talking about in China, emissions fell about 25% since the start of the year. The coal use fell by 40%. China's like 6th largest power plants. With the stop of transport, they predicted there was 23% reduction of global carbon emissions, which is like, it's like, you know, not everyone in the world stopped, but that's a huge amount, like a quarter of global emissions just like stopped. And I was going to come back to you and say, well, I kind of enjoyed the commute. Like I enjoy commuting because I do things during it that I miss. Like I would get all of my podcast listens in a commute, right? So that was like my way of listening to now. I've got to find other ways to listen to my podcasts. But when I'm looking at it from an environmental perspective, then you kind of go, well, gee, like if you had pretty much everyone in the world without needing to commute to a location and everyone could work in more like local centers, right? That would change things like dramatically, because you could reduce the amount of not just cars, right? Like things like your buses or your trains, and that still exists, but a much more minimal use of it. There was a whole, from a planning perspective, right? When you're planning through the whole way that, I believe it's in Europe, right? It's like a 5-hand planning rule, which is you've got your core city in the middle, and you've got the fingers, which essentially point out to your local areas. So they don't have satellite cities in essence. They just have like a core one, and you start pointing out. Yeah. Here in Australia, it's kind of like we've got big cities with satellite cities in between. So if people who are listening to this know Australia, Brisbane's a big city, Gold Coast is a big city. And then what they'll do in a planning sense is try to have satellite cities, like a Logan being a satellite city, Yarrabilba being a satellite city, and that would house its own individuals, and you could have workforces there. So one of the things that, you know, potentially from an environmental perspective, I could see happen is it shrinks out what they call a satellite city into like a satellite community. So imagine just Morningside. If you had essentially anyone who was in Morningside could work in Morningside. And it wouldn't have to change the fact that you have like offices, but offices could just be termed like a house, or you could have a building where it could be like an office. But you don't have to be working right next, like everyone having to work in the city. You can be working remotely anywhere. So what does it change having just, you know, a communal house or something for working, and it's just in your local area? So I guess everyone could walk. Yes, there's still probably some commuting, but it's not like everybody's like choking into cities and choking back out of them. Yeah. But
I want to pull you up on one point. I don't think you actually enjoy commuting.
Oh, I love commuting. I actually enjoy it. So
I think you distract yourself while doing it, and you've framed it in your mind. I've never seen you on a weekend taking a bus just for fun. I don't think you enjoy being on a bus for the. Okay,
I enjoy the time, but not the commuting sense itself. So I preferred walking to work than taking the bus, even though it took me the same amount of time. But I saw benefit in the walk. Yeah. So I wouldn't enjoy commuting by public transport or even a car as much as it would be commuting by walking. Yeah. Or like a means of exercise.
Yeah. That's different, but I think commuting, what most people have in mind is being in a bus.
Good point.
In a vehicle.
In saying that though, some people will still be like, oh well, I don't want to be walking around and stuff like that. But I'll note that there that I love walking. Like, you know, some people will be like, why are you walking like 5Ks in the morning? Something. I'll be like, nah, I enjoy that. That's good fun.
That's one thing I never really understood, that you really enjoyed doing that. Yeah. I can get it now. But a good point on the bus. People would say, you know, oh, man, I really miss being in a traffic jam. You know, just the sights, the sounds, the feel of the car not going anywhere, going for a little bit and then stopping. Oh man, I really
getting into a massive anger when someone cuts you off. And okay.
So
duly noted.
I think one of the really good things from this is people realizing like, okay, we don't need to do this. And, you know, if I can play my part in asking my company to work from home, even if it's a couple of days per week, that I think would be a positive, like, mental benefit for everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of your thoughts on life after the coronavirus?
Look, to be honest, man, I really don't think it'll have
Change
that
too
big
much?
of an impact. And so I wrote down here, like, biggest thing about 10 years time, I don't think there'll be like very little difference in the psychology of day-to-day life. So I don't think people are going to look back at this time and in 10 years time be like, this was like one of the transformational pivoting moments of my life.
In the world, yeah.
I was talking to my dad and other people like older who went through what it was like to live when the AIDS was coming through.
Yep.
And you know, it's sort of hard to remember, but nobody knew what it was. Like, you thought, oh, you can get it from normal sex. So there was people like abstaining totally. And, you know, that was, from what I can tell, an equally sort of traumatic, like worrying time of life in a mental aspect, the psychological aspect. But no one talks about it. Like, it'll be like a blip, a little,
something that happened.
No one talks about I remember that time, but not the psychological impact of that, like, still shapes my decisions to this day. No. So, but if you compare that to something like the smartphone, whereas this thing impacts my life hugely. I do so much with this that this is like a massive impact of my life. So
okay, I get what you're saying.
I think for all the people saying like life is going to be completely different after this, I very much doubt it. I think there'll be some things that will change a little bit.
I think there'll be aspects, but it won't change day to day many things that you would normally do. Perhaps your work might change. I think the option, like in all saying that, the whole transformation, right? I think there's going to be still individuals out there and companies who will just work again back from a city, back from a local hub. That's just still going to happen. Maybe the aspects of it, you've got a couple more in there, but a couple aspects will change, I'm sure. But in general, life will kind of go on, and you'll almost think back and go, it was more like SARS and MERS, but really, how many people even remember that sort of stuff that was happening?
I don't.
And it'll go, it'll just be one of those things that, okay, now it's accepted, it's happening, it goes on.
For sure.
Now, I'm saying this from a point of view of, I think, Australians, given the fact that we've got less than 1,000 active coronavirus currently in Australia. So it's quite low, right? And we only got, I think, below 7,000. I just saw before US was 1.1 million. And if you're in New York, it's over like 400,000. So maybe we're influenced by the fact that we don't see it as much, where New York might be really heavily impacted. So take that with a grain of sand. Grain of salt. Grain of sand. A bit smaller, just a bit smaller. Thinking of like really coarse salt.
I suppose it would be a bit different if you're in an area where you've had a total
huge
lockdown.
Impact.
So we've had a lockdown, but I've still been able to leave my house and basically do my day-to-day routine. Whereas if you were, say in New York City and you were just completely cut off, and I can't imagine what that would be like. So potentially for them.
I think one of the things future post-coronavirus that will happen will be, and maybe a little bit in Australia, but I could see it in other countries, is there'll be individual things will be more coercive to the government being able to be like, we're shutting this down, and everyone kind of being okay with it. So, for, I think when it was coming through, like when gyms started shutting down, when outdoor workout areas were shut down, whatever, non-essential shoppings, people were like, oh man, that's like my normal everyday life. That feels like horrible. What am I going to do now? And then after a couple of weeks, everyone figures it out. Cool, you're doing your own thing. I think when it happens again, what's going to happen in the future, I think we're going to adapt to it really quickly and go like, oh, yep, that happened. I remember we're in a shutdown, all this stuff. Cool, okay, whatever. We'll just go back to doing something else and let it happen. But I think that'll only be a certain time, 20 years, 30 years from now, we'll just remember it and be like, even though that happened through our life, we'll probably lose that perspective of what it was at that time. And again, complain and be annoyed about it. But maybe short to medium term in the future, we'll understand and be adaptive to it. So I think it'll help us be adaptive. And one of the other things I actually wrote down was be more, I think we'll be more grateful to the closer bonds that we can make when we actually see individuals. So I think the other day we ended up seeing a couple of friends for ours, and it was interesting because we normally don't see them that often anyways. But seeing them and just partaking in a bit of fitness, it was a little bit different than normal because it was like, oh, we haven't actually hung out with these guys for a long time. It was cool to catch up, talk, and then you kind of go, oh yeah, man, I really missed just, talking to other individuals, something that you would have taken for granted all the way in the past. One of those things I reckon hopefully everyone takes away from it is just being grateful to, being able to go for a swim or to the gym or to the movies or, actually being like, okay, we actually have a lot of freedom that we feel like we don't have now from obviously for a good reason, sure, whatever. But I reckon that's one thing I'll definitely take away, being like, okay, good that I can actually go to the gym. Or good that I can actually go and go to a national park or something like that.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. I doubt it. I think we all tend to slip back into our usual bullshit.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm thinking like the short term we'll have that, and then we'll start like slowly just forgetting it, which I think is where the negative visualization you brought at the beginning, right? Like you could forcefully be in that mindset of like, well, just knowing. Well, there's the in Stoicism, the whole thing around, taking, a week every month or 2 months or whatever it is to kind of just like live really badly to remind you, okay, you should be really grateful for what you have because you can be much worse off.
For sure. Cinemas, you mentioned that. I think that's one thing that'll change. I don't see them really being able to survive after this.
You reckon the internal or the external? Like you're talking just like a normal cinema?
Yeah.
Okay.
So where you physically go, sit in the seats and watch a movie like that, I don't see that surviving very well. And if they do, I imagine it would have some sort of like VR component to it. If they were to survive.
Do you think that's because during this time people just got used to watching it on demand as opposed to watching it on the big screens?
I think you just realize how much better it is. There's no ads that take up 20 minutes beforehand. There's no people rustling around. And, I guess some people enjoy the experience of having it in like that big field of view.
Yep.
But, I think the benefits of that and of that experience are diminished by like the quality, the sound. I think we've got hidden now to like an inflection point where the TV quality that you can get for like a cheap TV, the quality is like still
matching your movie experience.
Insane as far as like high def.
It's interesting. So 2 things. One, I saw yesterday the Yatla drive-in, which is essentially the outdoor cinema.
That one I could see doing.
Because yesterday, I think yesterday was open and it was packed. Like, it was just like chock-a-block.
Yeah.
But 2, I also don't have any fight with this because I'm like, I don't really care about movies. I don't really ever watch movies. So I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter. But I could see that it would be an inflection point at some, like it's already happening where, there's a Netflix of the world, Disney Plus, what's really stopping them from starting to just release movies and whatnot, digital platform and just having people watch it rather than going down the movie way. So I think we're still probably a little bit far out, but this might point to a decline to a lot of those things.
For sure.
Also and I was actually talking to Tim about this around where the shopping experience will probably change quite a bit. So during what it would be now, like 2 months or whatever, there's still been a lot of retail transaction. I think the retail spending still went up during this 2 months time in terms of percentage here in Australia anyways.
Yeah.
And a lot of them was done online. And one of the things he was suggesting was, it's probably going to go to a platform where you're just more going to have like showcase stores and then you buy everything online.
Yeah.
So that might be a transition that was happening anyways, but this might speed it up. So think about it in the car sector. Generally, the way that you buy cars, it's like, it's been around for a long time. You go to a car dealership, you go and try out a car, and then you go, that's it. But one of the things that Tesla has been doing well for a long time, and now that's like even picking up higher, is, they have just a showroom with a couple of the cars. They don't sell any of them there. You have to buy it online in a digital way.
Yeah.
And then you buy it and you go delivered, right?
Yep.
So there's a whole talk about digital transformations. You don't have to have humongous amounts of stock just sitting in your warehouse, your shops, or your brick and mortar.
For sure.
It can just be like a showroom where you have like one of every piece. Maybe people can try it on if it's clothing, see it if it's a car, use it if it's an appliance, and then you just get everything delivered. So there could be that change. I think it's happening anyways, but that change might shift a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Especially, I reckon, if US sticks around with restrictions for a lot longer, and then they drive a lot of this commerce, right, from e-commerce perspective.
Yeah.
So
well,
it's interesting. I was going to say it's not a not a coincidence that Amazon's share price has gone up by like 26%, right? They're well over $1 trillion capitalization now as a business. So
yeah, I think the rise of VR is going to be quite startling as well.
Yep.
I really feel, especially just from, I was, I suppose, thought that it was it will have like a big impact on our life. But after this, I think it's made it more apparent to me just how, I suppose, like critical that the uses of it can manifest themselves in like all sorts of venues. So if you had like a VR, you can go into a shop or something and try on clothes and see how it looks at yourself from like different angles, how it'll put yourself in like different scenarios, what the clothes will look like if you're at the beach compared to if you're, in the moonlight in the city or whatnot. And there's so many applications for it as well for work.
One of
the things you were saying was you enjoyed going to work because you can communicate better face to face with people, and that's for sure. And I think with VR, you'll be able to have that very, maybe the experience will be slightly weird because you'll know.
But still, it's kind of like that. Yeah, that's you get an extreme and go into like that dystopian view. But you're right, you can have that virtual reality experience to kind of get that more like that interaction of being, I guess, close to humans.
Yeah,
I think you can never remove the whole like actually being with a human, but for me, communicating with people and like you get to see their movements or their face patterns or whatever through virtual reality, you might be able to achieve that. And then all of a sudden, it's like, why do you really even need to go into an office to see people if you are getting all that connection that you can? Well, one of the things I actually wrote here was I was reading about this, and I think for sure it's going to happen. I reckon it's going to be the end of a lot of business travel as we know it. Like, if you imagine, at the moment, I've worked in companies where people would fly all the way to Singapore, all the way to US to go and do a project, right? And it would be to do meetings or presentations. One of the things actually Gary was saying, OV, was he, and I don't know why he didn't realize this earlier, but he's like, I'm really wasting a lot of time like flying to London to do a presentation now he gets paid $250,000 to do these presentations. But, for him, that's a lot, like there's time in there.
Yeah.
And think about it, like you could do, I'm sure you could do a presentation for someone in London through virtual reality means, through, just a Zoom sort of meeting where you can hear and interact. I'm sure you could do it really, you can get tech and go even further beyond.
Yeah.
But, is there really a need for you to congregate somewhere to do a business meeting or something like that? Not really.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, there is the tangible being a human and interacting and those like little soft touches, but you can do that in other ways, especially like I've noticed in the way that I've working all remotely, we're still sort of keeping in touch and being connected.
Yeah.
Not to say, and not that it'll end it completely. I think what it'll do is you will still do those catch-ups, but when you do them in person, it means so much more. I can't remember what company this was. It's escaping my mind, but it's one of the guys, I don't know if it's WordPress or imagine one of those tech companies, and they're all completely distributed. They just work everywhere. But what they do is they have no business meetings, nothing like that. It's all online. But 2 weeks out of the year, they all meet up in one location, and it's just like a full intensive 2 weeks of like socializing, getting to know each other, team building, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so he was saying that, that 2 week intensive period was amazing because everyone really enjoyed it. Like you made the most out of it because it was only like that little bit and you got a lot out of it. And then everything else, you can just do it remotely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which was like, okay, I can see that being completely positive because like say I'm going to go into an office on Tuesday and I'm going to be there to specifically meet with people and it'll be like rekindling connections and networking. And I'm going to make the most out of it because it's 8 a day.
Yeah.
But then I know I can just disperse, go and work elsewhere and get the work done.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I reckon that'll be good. But yeah, I think in the business travel or at least some of that redundant travel, it's just going to go.
Yeah.
100%. I've had many redundant travels in my time. I've flown to Canberra from Brisbane. And to those who don't know, it is about a 3-hour flight. I've flown to Canberra to have a lunch and flown back to Brisbane. That's all I did. A business lunch.
Yeah.
Like
Was it
what?
good
Like
lunch?
It was not even that great a lunch.
Oh.
And it was, 8 hours of a day of just to do a lunch down in Canberra, right?
I can't say Canberra's renowned for its food either.
No, so it's kind of like there's a little thing. So it's like, I think those redundancies, especially as companies start going down from an economic perspective, it's going to be like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
You just don't have the budget to do that. So it'll
exactly.
forcibly happen.
Okay, how about this one? So obviously, I guess we've all had to think about mortality a lot more.
Yep.
Do you think that'll have any big impacts on, I suppose, the way that we all go looking forward? Like, we've had this scare.
No, 100% not.
Yeah. See,
I think it won't change it at all.
I think it will on a very short term. And I imagine that once things start to open up again, there will be a craze of sort of like hedonism when people just go crazy. And I'm not even just talking about bars and partying. I'm thinking more about just really trying to live life to the fullest. And really do the stuff you enjoy for a short period of time. And then I think it will sort of like died off back again to how things were before.
Which makes sense, right? After a period of quietness, there's going to be unrest as well for people being like, well, now I've got to do all these things. I feel like I've got to get done.
This friend, I got to see this friend. I'm gonna got to go to the beach like every single day. Blah blah blah.
But time comes through and people forget. People just forget everything. Like there's
For sure.
Even us, right? Like it doesn't fit within our where we were born and everything. So we don't even know really how it occurred or what happened. But there's not many people now left alive that really know what happened through World War II. And like what damages, directly after World War II, US had a massive growth through economical means. They won, in essence, the ultimate war. Their currency went up, absolutely crashed others. Japan joined US as an ally, all this sort of stuff, right? And we can kind of listen to it in history and understand what happened. But, can you imagine like the individuals a year or two after, everyone would have just been like, oh my God, what an amazing time to be alive. Like it's so grateful and everything. And now you wouldn't even, now people don't understand that, both because you're not even from that generation, but you just don't even know the learnings that came from that or how horrible it could have been. Now, I think everyone's going to, like we were saying earlier, I think everyone's going to step a year or two and be like, oh my God, it's amazing. No, like the virus might still be around, but they'll go, oh, you can go out and do this. And then everyone will just kind of fall in line and go, okay, back to normal life and everything.
Yeah.
I think it's, well, of course, I wouldn't have wished this to be happen, but what if this coronavirus this COVID-19 had been like a proper worse one, like one where it was really like, all they're saying is like, okay, this might be a preparatory, pandemic to something really dangerous, like whatever had 30-40% mortality. Then you're talking like, okay, this is real bad. Everyone's gonna taking shelter and being worried. That sort of cataclysmic style issues, that might be when it's like, okay, all right, I might actually really remember this and my life might change forever. But I think this is just not enough of a big thing for everyone to just change tact. So,
yeah, for sure.
It actually reminds me of a couple of episodes ago. We talked about cataclysmic events, if you recall. This was before coronavirus, and we talked about what...
we didn't call it that.
No, we called it... I just forget it now. But
existential
risks, yeah. So there you go. We didn't predict it though.
No,
we didn't call
I think we're doing it because of that, because of the coronavirus.
Oh, were we?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Thought we were just fortune tellers.
No.
Excellent. No. One of the other ones I had, so there's again more work perspective, and I'll bring these together. I think middle management positions will be gone forever. I have this feeling that, so you're going to have frontline individuals who are working with customers, and you're going to have your top level leaders in strategy. And the reason is your middle managers traditionally are people who look after your frontline, and they kind of just tell, and leadership to kind of help control what's going on. I think in this new world and moving forward, your front staff are going to be working very closely with your customers, but there's going to be so much transparency from a digital changeover that leadership at the higher levels can already see really quickly. Like, I can see that, this store in Seattle is already making negative 20%, or I can see that Brisbane's making 50% plus. That's the sort of stuff that middle managers were, gathering information from talking to people, from the experience and everything, and then flowing back and getting the strategies. I think middle management will just sort of disappear. It'll be either in a very traditional company, someone who's operating with a customer, then you might have a sales team, then you might have your executive strategic team, and you won't really need managers per se.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
And that might be a longer term thing, but I think it starts putting a view on the end of sort of middle management.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll trust you on that one. I have no thoughts either way about it.
Yeah. So, and I think it's because right now, right, thinking about it from a work perspective, everyone's working from home. So, well, or majority. So there has to be a massive trust in an individual getting their work done and not getting checked up on. And you can have many type of managers, right? You can have really managers that are like checking what's going on. You can have really laid back managers. In the end, the manager is just managing the work gets done. Given everyone's working from home, there's a lot more trust and responsibility on them. Like if you say, you're going to get that done, well, you're going to have to get that done. There's no person next to you being like checking up on you, seeing what's going on. So I think it's inbuilt more people with responsibilities.
Yep.
If on a perfect scale, everyone's going to be really responsible in getting their stuff done. Then there's that middle layer that has always been those middle managers that focus on, we're going to make sure that they're getting this done and it's getting done to the level that can kind of remove, because these people are now being responsible and connected to the customer.
Yeah.
You only really need the top executives or whoever's making the big decisions. It's that middle is just like communication.
Yeah.
Stream.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see. I think it'll help it along. Just standard 9 to 5 hours, office hours. I think it was going away fairly quickly and started to see other companies do like 4-day weeks. Essentially just get your work done. And now I'm just seeing, I reckon that's going to be a massive change as part of this current. That's one of the aspects I reckon very few people will now work 9 to 5 days. It'll just be work when you want to work, when you can work, because it's just going to be all the infrastructure for it. So you could say like, if you're an individual who likes to drop off the kids in the morning and pick them up, you might work from home in the morning, then drop your kids off, then go to the office, leave the office early, go see your kids, work from home.
Yeah.
Or you might be a really late person, be like, I'm going to work midday to midnight or something like that, and just the whole morning is spent doing something else.
Yeah.
I think there's just going to be so much freedom for it that it almost seems it's going to be not the norm now to just work 9 to 5.
Yeah. I was reading this thing, I think it's like an informal law called Parkinson's law, which is the volume of work adjusts to the volume of time taken or volume of time allocated to do it.
So if you, in essence, to give the summary of that, if you give me a task that says, can you make this Rubik's Cube and go and cook some lunch, and you've got till tomorrow, then I will take up all of that 24 hours to make it happen. So I'll be like, I can do this a little bit later. I'll do some research, go for a run. And
I'll do some research on like what's the optimal way to do a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, something like that.
What type of food is better for the lunch? Like,
but if you say to someone, I need you to do the Rubik's Cube and lunch in half an hour. Then you're going to go, okay, in half an hour, I'm going to make this work. And again, there's variabilities that you can introduce, but what was it called? What law was it?
I think it was called Parkinson's law.
Yeah. But no, I have listened to that or read about that anyway. So, Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So so how do you feel? I suppose because I'm not working, but you've had this now opportunity where you can do workouts during the middle of the day, and you can take time to quickly go and prepare something, like prepare some food or whatnot. How do you feel working from home? Is it something you'd want to be doing more of or less of? Or
see, I'll have a bias because I enjoy the human connection. Until I was in a way that I could work with people, whether it's virtual reality or another way that I can really connect with humans really well, I'd still prefer working from an office or working from a location where I'm talking to people, just because I connect much better in that way. But in saying that, that's like it's work that's not, I'm in a work field that I'm not particularly like doing something. Like I'm not actively producing a product or an outcome. I'm more, if you look at it, like managing individuals, right? That's just a thing. So for me, it's a lot more about relationship building and connecting and moving that along. Fantastic, whatever. If I was doing though, which is sometimes I have been doing, then 100% much better, because you're right. Like normally at work, you'd go in, you can't get in at 9 or 8 and you finish at 5. And it's like, okay, well, I've got the whole day to do this. So you might fluff around, you might watch a video, you might get yourself a coffee, talk to people, right? And you find that you wasted probably 3 good hours. Whereas, you can go and you can do it at work, but you can do it much easier at home. You can go, okay, well, I'm going to set myself 2 hours and I'm going to use like the Pomodoro technique, and I'm going to smash out all this work. And there's no real interruptions. You can really dial in. You can essentially just set yourself as do not disturb on your computer, and off you go. Just smash it out and come back and you get it all out of the way. Or as you say, right? We can train in the middle of the day and be like, okay, well, I'm going to work super hard until 11 or so, go train, come back, get some food, and then just work really hard. And you're still producing the same amount of outcome and value.
Yeah.
But it just might possibly be that you're working less, but still the value and the outcome is the same. So
yeah, and it's not, I suppose, just like commute time that's been freed up. You've had an hour taken out of your week because you don't have to iron shirts and whatnot.
Yeah. All the little bits and bobs that just add up.
That take up a tremendous amount of time. Getting ready. I'll prepare my clothes for the next day. I
was just about to be like, but I enjoy ironing because I get to listen to a podcast.
Yeah, get
but
to
it's
watch
not.
the rugby.
True.
No.
My only other one that I had, so my 8th impact, is supply chains. And this one, I really have to think about this because I'm like, well, I looked into wars and things like, so World War II, World War I, and it kind of impacted supply chains, but again, it went back to what was efficient and what was cost effective. And I was thinking about this and that. I think it will change supply chains in ways that they'll be more localized supply chains, or inversely, I think globalization will start going backwards.
Yep.
And by that, I mean, globalization was the movement of taking a lot of your factory work off to China or Taiwan and getting, moving a lot of products or supplies all through there in a more cost efficient way.
Yeah.
Fine. I think there stands a reason that that's some good stuff. That's fine. But I think there's going to be a bit of a subtraction of that. I think it's going to be a lot more local production, a lot more local jobs. There's going to be, it was an interesting one, there's going to be less porous borders, which is an interesting one. I think there's going to be a little bit of a reserve for all countries in the world to kind of give up resources just as easily.
Yeah.
So not that we ran into a resource issue, like we didn't run out of food, no one ran out of products. There was sometimes a lack of toilet paper or something like that.
Yeah.
But we didn't really lack a lot of things. It wasn't insane.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be a lot of stringent changes that are going to make our borders a lot less porous. So, we're probably not going to do as much business with the US or with China. And China's not going to inversely do a lot of business with the US. And I think everyone's going to be a little bit more like, okay, let's just focus on ourselves for a bit, make sure that our economy and local economy is working. And what does it mean when the economy shrinks, right? When the economy is going to, all global GDP is going to drop, right? So there's going to be less, everything's going to be worth less. In essence, right? It's going to be a lot of money printed, a lot of bonds have been bought. Everyone's going to be owing a lot of money, I think. A lot of countries are going to go, okay, we're going to have to focus on ourselves first and figure out ourselves both in the debt scenario that we're in. How do we get more jobs for people, right? I think in the US, there's 30 million people unemployed, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to focus on them. How do we get jobs in the US? My mindset is Trump's going to put decreased taxes on US companies or creating companies within the US, and a lot of supply chain will start moving back into the US. So I think that short term that might happen. Will globalization happen again? Maybe really far in the future, but short term, at least I see the next year or two, I reckon it's going to be a little bit more contracted.
Yeah. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's not as bad as I suppose we're all thinking, in the sense that the productivity you get from working from home could, in the sort of short term over the next couple of years, just increase everything that's going on. Just so much wasted time going to and from work, all that sort of stuff. I could see that at least having a mental benefit. Imagine if everyone was sort of 10% happier or 10% more content with their life, 10% more chilled out. Yeah. Huge change. Yeah. So that's interesting. So a couple of predictions I've got is so we've already talked about the high working at home percentage for IT jobs that can be handled with computers. So obviously we're still going to need the janitors, the cleaners, the whatnot for plenty of stuff. But even those jobs could go away a little bit. One thing I've always never really understood is when people are worried about jobs going away and what are we going to do when jobs go away? All I can say is from my own personal experience of not having worked for 3 years, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Yeah. I subside. I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm actively growing in a monetary wise, how much money I have, but all other aspects of my life have improved a billionfold. Yep. Because I'm doing what I want to do, not because I'm sitting in front of a
Because
computer.
You have to do it. Yeah, you're not forcibly having to do something and kind of being I've got to shape myself into that square.
And so I can sort of get people saying, oh, if people lose jobs, what are they gonna do all day? Blah blah blah. I think you find stuff to do, and I think that stuff you do is what you enjoy.
Yep.
So that's just one thing. A little side note that I've always found like a little bit. Well, that's
good
funny.
point. Yep.
Cities will survive. I've seen like a couple of things online people saying like the cities won't survive this. People like
will flock out or something like that.
Yeah. I don't think that's true. Reading the Scale book by Jeffrey West, and think of all the cities that had atomic bombs dropped on them and they survived.
Hiroshima's still going.
Nagasaki's still going. Dresden, which got firebombed. Places that have plagues and whatnot, all that sort of stuff. Rome still survive.
Yeah.
So I think like there's always going to be that desire to sort of congregate and the benefits that can come from that, which are tremendous when you think about like entertainment wise, productivity wise, and those sort of things. So I think the cities will survive. Don't think there's going to be any concern about that.
I'd agree with that.
And perhaps the only other thing I can think of is perhaps like a little bit less of a crackdown on conspiracy theories, in a sense that everyone's sort of gone through this, and we've all sort of experienced what it's like to not be very sure of what's going on, to wonder, how did this come from? How bad's it going to be? Blah, blah, blah. And, I suppose over the last couple of years, you hear a lot of podcasts and people talking about like, the crackdown on YouTube, there's a lot of things you can't say anymore, a lot of things you can't do. I wouldn't be surprised if there's, like a lightening of that, and because everyone's sort of experienced, this is what it was like.
It's an interesting point you make there, and I'll tell you why. Hopefully. Do you know Brian Rose? Okay, so Brian Rose, who's he does a lot of podcasting and YouTube as well.
Okay.
And he had a discussion with Jordan Belford, and it was about what happened. And Brian Rose had a discussion with someone in relation to the coronavirus, and he wasn't so much saying that he was a denier of COVID-19, but he was making, I guess, just reasonable points that, hey, 5G, he was talking about 5G, and he was saying how 5G could potentially be doing something like this. And he wasn't specifically calling out that it was coronavirus, but he was like, 5G is doing this and they're hiding that and blah, blah, blah. And it was, I guess, a bit of free speech behind it. I can't remember who the guy was, Brian Rose was interviewing, but it very quickly was becoming like the most watched interview on YouTube, like really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And YouTube forced Brian Rose, to take it down.
Is he do London Real?
London Real. I don't know if you heard about it.
David Icke.
Yeah. So he got shut down from that, and he tried to keep posting a couple more posts about it, not just with him, but like a second follow up and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they live streamed, and it had like 40 million people.
Yeah.
And YouTube directly reached out to Brian Rose. It was like, you cannot do this. If you do it, we're going to completely ban your YouTube side and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, very interesting.
Potentially, I could be totally wrong about that. As well, there was I watched a podcast with Joe Rogan and Tim Pool, and the whistleblower in America of the Ukraine stuff. I don't follow it much, but apparently you cannot say this. Like, it's sort of well known who the dude is, but you can't actually say his name. And if you say it on YouTube, it gets...
That's taken down. Yeah.
So I don't particularly
conspiracy theories.
I don't particularly feel like testing it out right now. So
just say his name quietly as we go. We've got off air. We'll just like slowly. It'll be winding down, and it'll just be like.
I doubt they'd care for our podcast. No one watches.
They're all listening. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
Disney's already sent me a message being like, no, stop talking about it. Apple sent me a deceased letter. Stop hating on our product. It's all right. I sent back Apple a funny picture, so they'll enjoy it.
Okay. Good.
That's all my impacts as well. So that's all good. Fitness. How's your fitness been going with your fitness challenge? I actually got someone asked me yesterday or the day before. They said, you guys do a mere mortal challenge. Is that the new thing? They're not doing the fitness challenge anymore of the year. So we still are. It's for sure. I certainly just have sucked at it. A lot of mine are gym based, so I haven't been able to get many points. I changed one of them. I have changed one of them. So I'll call it out now. I changed one of them to do with push-ups. So it's push-ups in 30 seconds is what I'm changing. So I had a bench pressing one. And I'm like, okay, I'm changing it. I'm making it push-ups in 30 seconds.
Didn't consult me.
I know, I didn't. That's why I haven't consulted Kyrin. So I'm calling it out now. So I've got to check off with him the numbers to see if you're happy with it, and then we'll go from there. But so far for me, no more points.
Okay, I was within 1 second of getting some points.
This was a handstands?
Yeah, so on last
That was a solid
Monday,
one.
did 74 seconds and just lost it.
If you want to see the video of that, Kyrin Dan has his own Instagram.
Yeah, it's on
Mere
my-
Mortal Michael. He's got a lot of handstands now, but in there,
good luck trying to find
there's a 74-second one where he gets a little bit angry at the end. But
even I can't remember where it exactly is.
I can't even remember standing for 74 seconds in the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, I was very happy with it because it was a PB, but also oh man, one more second.
Bittersweet PB. That's all right. That's all. Look. We're starting to get a couple more toys on the table. If you're not seeing the toys building up, you should check out the YouTubes.
Yeah.
See the things coming through. We've got a couple more clean and clear videos coming through. We've got, I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't. We've got cameras galore in front of us. And Kyrin's got the big arm now, so he's got the ability to talk really clearly. So you can hear
over here. I can speak from
look
over
at him.
here.
You can go under the table. Can you go under the table?
No, I can't.
No,
I
don't
think it's
so we won't be on the table, unfortunately, but you never know. And look, what other places? We've got a couple of book reviews coming out the way. You created two fresh ones right now.
Yep.
So go check it out. I'll summarize as well. Joey, thank you very much for giving us the ideas. Thank you very much. We were pondering on what we were going to do, and this came out, and we were like, good, if we're going to do this. So again, musings we've also got going. We've got meanderings, which will come out here and there.
They're not really that different.
No, they're not. Well, the musings and the meanderings ended up being very similar. Musings,
sort of.
Musings is just a look back through the week. Meanderings is just like whatever, right?
I really enjoyed that, man.
The meanderings is good.
That was a very quick half an hour or 37 minutes, whatever it was.
Yeah. Like these podcasts that we talk about here, we've got structure. Yeah, we've got some structure going. Got some notes. And we talk about things, and we have to do a bit of research, and we talk about obviously our perspective, what we've learned, and what we know about things. Yeah. But the meanderings, come and join us if you want. Even grab yourself a drink, listen in, talk crap. Hell, if you want to be part of meanderings, let us know. Yeah. We'll get you on there and just have a chat. Yeah, so, we got the capacity to do some live streaming. And I think we're going to be chatting to hopefully some guys soon as well with interviews and the like. Maybe, potentially some interviews. We'll crank it in. Anyways, episode 36, that was future impacts of coronavirus and the life after coronavirus. That is it from me. Nice. One out. Kyrin out.